Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Shift with Gina. Today, we're going to talk about the modern struggles of motherhood, how to not lose yourself in motherhood, how to enjoy motherhood more with what you have now. I think this topic is so important and we should be talking about it in a useful and productive way, not a whiny and complaining way. And I want to remind you of this great quote. It's actually the title of a poem by William Ross Wallace, and it's, "The hand that rocks the cradle is the hand that rules the world." And that's so powerful to me because I think we need to remember that mothers play such a significant role in the way that society is formed and shaped. And the bedrock of any thriving society is the family unit. And of course, a lot of that comes down to the mother and the way that we raise our children. So I think it's really important for us to find ways to find joy in motherhood, be very grateful for what we have, but it's okay to be honest that modern motherhood today looks very different than it did for our ancestors. So we can talk about it in an honest way. And today I'm going to give you 6 tips that have really helped me with motherhood and the transition from going from 0 to 1. That's the hardest transition, especially as someone who was always very professionally driven and sacrificed a lot to be with my kids. And frankly, I was very nervous that I wouldn't even like motherhood in the early years, honestly, because I knew it would take a lot of sacrifice. And I gave up a lot of things to be home with my babies. And I was nervous, honestly, that I wouldn't like motherhood. So these are the tips that really, really helped me find grounding in motherhood and be grateful. And you know, it's not always going to be easy. As you know, moms out there, a lot of frustrations, but these tips have really helped me still find the gratitude and the joy in it. But first, I quickly want to say the context of why I'm doing this video. What I've noticed recently is there are not many people online who are responding usefully and productively to the moms who are expressing their difficulties with motherhood. Okay, so one side, which is the more liberal feminist side, they just harp on about how hard motherhood is. And they use it as a jumping off point for all of their toxic ideologies. They're like, see how hard motherhood is? You should be able to abort your baby at any stage. See how hard motherhood is? Men suck. And then it turns into this big gender war and why women are so much better than men. Totally useless, not productive to moms. And then the other side, the right and the trad con side, you guys know that I criticize the trad trend all the time. We're going to get into it in a little bit. It completely dismisses many moms' struggles with motherhood. And it tells them to just shut up and be grateful because motherhood's a gift and you complain too much and you should totally lose yourself in motherhood because it's the greatest gift in the world. I find that to be dismissive and unproductive as well. Both are unhelpful. Neither offer real solutions for women to build themselves up as healthy, whole mothers. And we need healthy, whole mothers to make up thriving societies for a strong moral to make up thriving families, for a strong moral society. And as you know by now, and maybe you're new here and don't know, that's really the goal of my podcast is to talk about productive ways we can help mothers be healthy, be whole, and raise strong families for a strong society. So let's start with number 1. Don't do it alone. Find your high trust village. I want to quickly show you a short TikTok of a mom. It's like 10 seconds long. She's expressing how difficult motherhood has been for her. So for those of you who are just listening and you don't have the audio, I will read what the text is on the video as this is going on. So if you're just listening, she's on the couch and she's crying. She's having a tough time. So here it is. She says, "I love being a mom and I wouldn't trade it for anything. But I struggle with my identity and the changes that have happened. It's the simple things like never getting to do something for myself without the mental load of preparing for every single thing. I miss the ease sometimes, and I sometimes get jealous watching other girls my age do the things that I simply just don't have time for." And that's it. That's sad. I know a lot of people can look at that video and laugh, especially people in the trad con pocket of the internet. They're like, oh, she just needs to suck it up and be grateful. What I see is as a mom who's struggling, and my heart goes out to her because I know moms that sometimes it feels like you can lose your identity in your kids, especially your first one, because it's such a big transition. And I want you to know that we were never meant to do motherhood alone. All of our ancestors lived in very strong family units, high trust villages, even complete with apprentices and hired help. So the concept of the nuclear family as something that was totally separated from the rest of the family and the rest of the village is actually a very new modern concept that has only really been around for the last like 70 to 80 years. And yet today we're told that it's like the tradition. It's how it always has been. That's why I think the trad wife obsession in today's culture is odd to me, because it glorifies the isolation of the nuclear family being separated alone. And the concept that the wife stays home all day with the kids with nobody else around while the husband is out to work for 8 to 10 hours a day. That is not tradition. Remember, traditionally, before industrialization forced people into these sterile work environments, including especially men, the family was an economic unit that worked together in harmony. The husband would have an enterprise or a trade or own land that the wife and children helped contribute to together. It was theirs. And it was a family endeavor that often involved more than the nuclear family. It involved extended family, apprentices, hired help, like I said, a village. Nobody is saying that we have to return to pre-industrialization, because we can't. But the point is, Western American culture is uniquely hyper-individualized to a fault. Okay, so this whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you can do it by yourself. That sentiment has a lot of positives, but it can be to a fault. We are sometimes so extremely hyper individualized and we think it's some kind of flex. We're like, you got to do it all on your own. That's not a flex. It gets to the point where we can't even see that many everyday moms are isolated and alone, and they don't have the help or camaraderie of other women, from family members, friends, your village. The same help from other women that our ancestors had every day of their life to help with each other's kids. And now we're just supposed to think that it's totally normal and natural for the mom to be totally home alone. And that's not how it used to be. So ladies, find your high trust village. Moms, if you are not able to live near family who can help you out, you can create your own community. I know today, in today's modern world, not everyone can live near family. If you can, do it, especially if maybe you're listening and you're not even a mom yet, or you're newly married, or you're about to get married, or you're planning sometime to get married. If you can, find a husband or agree with your husband to move a little bit closer to family, because it helps. So it is the greatest motherhood hack. Ladies, let me tell you, to live near family. It is the absolute number one greatest life hack, because it allows you to have the support, to have that unwavering, unconditional love from your family, whether it's your mom, aunt, cousin, sister, whoever it is. Okay, because we have to find practical ways to avoid isolation. So if you don't live near family, and even if you do, here are some practical ways to avoid isolation. Number one, plan a regular meetup with other moms and friends. This sounds like a no-brainer. It sounds easy, but you'd be shocked at how many moms I know that tell me that they're really struggling with isolation and they're lonely. And I'm like, okay, how often do you meet your friends and go out with other moms in your community? And they're like, oh, well, not that often. I'm like, you have to make it a point. Start with just once a month. Start with that simple once a month to just meet up with the other mom friends, even if it's going to the park or doing a play date at each other's house. You have to plan ahead of time, because if you just let life go, you're like, oh, I'll get to it. It'll never, ever happen. Number two, ask for help. So few moms are good at this, because again, we live in this hyper individualized society that's all about pull yourself up by your bootstraps and do it all yourself. But you need to ask for help from your loved ones. And ladies, talk to your husband, communicate it clearly to him that, you know what, I need a little bit of extra help. And maybe that means asking the husband to help you a little bit more at home, or just letting him know, being like, hey, I'm going to be reaching out to some more friends and family because I'm really struggling here. And this is one of those things that like the trad con right, it gets so annoying about. They're like, your husband should never help out with chores at home because he's working outside the home. And I'm like, you guys are so legalistic and obsessed with these like strict gender roles. It's okay to ask your husband for help. It's okay, especially if you're a mom who's struggling with young kids. It is okay. It's not, oh, he's going to simp for you and help you do the laundry. Whatever. Don't listen to that nonsense online. Okay. That's another practical tip. Don't listen to that nonsense of men being beta if they help you with laundry, or if they help you with the kids sometimes. If you need like 30 minutes to yourself to go shower, put on a little makeup, take a bath. If your husband loves you and supports you and your kids and wants to be a part of the kids' lives, it's okay to ask for that. But I want you to also feel confident to ask for help from your nearby family, to ask for help from your friends. If you have a friend who has young kids and you just need an hour to drop your kids off, ask them, can you take my kids for an hour? I just need an hour to go get my nails done. I just need an hour to go to the gym. I just need an hour to have a little bit of silence at home and maybe clean at home in silence. Ask for help. Number 3, get outside of the house more often. Even if it means that you let some house chores fall to the wayside temporarily, it's better to get out, be as social as possible. Go to the library, go to kids classes. There are a lot of gyms like YMCA that has kids programs, and bonus, you can work out while the kids are doing the classes. Get out of the house. Because especially after the pandemic in 2020, so many of us are used to just being in the house cooped up all day. Now that the weather is nicer, go outside more often, ladies. Take it a point to get the kids out, get their energy out, let them run around, and you get out too. Get in the sunshine and get out of the house. You're much more likely to meet people, to plan meetups with people. Number 4, do romantic things with your husband more. And you guys, husbands can kind of be a little slow on the pickup. Sometimes they don't see things and they're in their own world. But I think that most husbands, normal husbands, they love their wives. And if you ask him for something, you're like, honey, I feel like I've been cooped up a little bit with the kids. Can we go out to a nice dinner this weekend? I would love to spend some time with you. Don't nag him. Don't blame him. Just tell him that you would love to spend some time with him. So you have to ask for it sometimes. I hate this whole thing of men should just know. He should just ask me on a date. No, sometimes you ask for it. I've had to ask my husband, like, honey, we haven't been out to dinner, just the two of us in a really long time. Let's go do something, even if we just go grab a burger for an hour. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Because, men have their own struggles. They have their own stresses and difficulties. So they're not, always tuned into us, and that's okay. Men are men. So you have to ask for it sometimes. Now, if you are someone who is living in an area, you don't have a strong community yet, you feel like you don't live near family, and you want to create a community of other moms, and you want to establish a connection, here are some practical tips for you to create lasting friendships that will help you build a high trust village. Number 1, and I know not everyone who listens to me, or you may be new here, you may not be Christian, you may not be religious, but find a local parish. That is my best piece of advice. My even better piece of advice, the number one piece of advice is find an Orthodox Christian community, because they are even more likely to have a strong connection with the other members of the parish, because even down to a lot of the theology of Orthodox Christianity, having a God family, when you're chrismated into the church, you have sponsors, godparents. Each person in the family has their own set of godparents. That is like a built-in support system right there. And in most, it's how it's supposed to be. In most Orthodox Christian communities, the godparents and the sponsors, they take it very seriously to help care for their godchildren. So my daughter has godparents in the Orthodox Church, and they're young, married, no kids yet. They are serious about being a part of my daughter's life. They have been so helpful and so supportive. If I need a morning to just get some stuff done. Right now, I'm writing a book about the obesity crisis. I'm excited about it, and I'll let you know when it comes out, probably next year. It's going to be a little while. There have been times where I just need to write a little bit, because the due date for the manuscript is pretty soon, basically when the baby comes. And I just need like an hour to write. I call my daughter's godmother. I'm like, can you come over on this day? And she makes time to come over, and I get a little peace and quiet. These Christian communities, I'm not saying that every Christian church is like this or every Orthodox parish is like this, but I'm just saying that you are much more likely to find a strong community of women in these communities than you are in other places. So go to an Orthodox parish. If you don't know where to start, you can message me. I can help you maybe find a local parish. But these are the kind of communities that want young moms to come in. And hopefully there are a lot of other young kids and young moms. Like my parish has so many young moms and young kids. And I just signed up today for a meal train for one of our friends who just gave birth to her 3rd child. I'm going to be bringing her a meal like in a week or two. And there's a ton of other women who sign up for a meal train. That's major support when you have a baby. Those of you who know, imagine when I had my first child too, I had a meal train for like 2 weeks. I had dinner at my door for 2 weeks from church friends. Such a blessing. You know how it is, Mom. Little things like that can make a world of difference. Number 2, for creating community, you have to intentionally connect with other moms. again, I know you know this, and like, duh, of course, but a lot of moms don't do this. Like, try to approach moms at the park. Try to approach moms at kid classes, like kids gymnastics. Like when I used to take my daughter to toddler gymnastics when she was itty bitty, it was like actually baby gymnastics. We made friends with a couple other moms, and she had some great play dates or like music lessons. Find a way to connect with other moms and then ask them for a play day. You have to reach out. And this is something that moms are not really great at because, I don't know, we're just not used to it in this sort of like hyper online world that we live in now. And yeah, this is another one. Number 3, speaking of online, use the internet. If you are struggling to meet people in person, there are a lot of local mom groups on platforms like Facebook. There are a lot of free meetup groups. I think the website is called Meetups. A lot of places where you can get online and find other moms who are yearning for the same kind of connection that you are. Number 4, plan a meetup yourself. Plan something, plan a little park outing. If you only know 2 or 3 moms in the area, invite them out. You have to intentionally make time to hang out with other moms and other kids. And number 5, I like this one a lot. Start a new hobby for yourself. I know if you're like, I don't even have time. How am I going to start a new hobby for myself? But we're going to get down to number 3 later. And that's about finding a creative outlet. And I think it's really important for moms to keep something for themselves. And if you start a new hobby, like a music or dance class or learning how to sew, you'd be surprised at how many people you can connect with and start to build friendships around you. But this is the first piece of advice I have is build your high trust village, ladies. You are not meant to do motherhood alone. Please hear me. That's like the number 1 takeaway I want all moms to understand is that you have to ask for help. And you have to build these women around you that you feel like you can trust and you can have some help from, because if you don't have help, you're never going to make it. Now, before we get to number 2, I want to tell you about this brand new dumbbell workout program that I just created, mostly for women. Guys, you can get it too, but it's really mostly for women. This is a 10-week dumbbell workout program. It's on sale now. You can click the link in the description, look at the show notes. It's got 30 workouts, 3 workouts a week for 10 weeks. I even give you some cardio sessions to sprinkle in between strength sessions. You've got tutorial videos. I give you information on warm up and cool down. All you need are dumbbells for these workouts. So you can do them at home if you have the equipment or go to the gym. It's the perfect time to start getting in shape for summer. I use these workout programs for my clients. I do one-on-one clients and also group coaching. So they work. And these workouts are the ones that I did when I was postpartum with my first child and trying to get back into shape. So link in the description. If you guys have any questions about the workouts, let me know, but tutorial videos are there for all the exercises. Number 2, use social media consciously. Okay. When we're talking about how to enjoy motherhood more and how to not lose yourself in motherhood, I want you to know that there is so much content online that steals your joy and makes you constantly compare yourself to others. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 2 extremes. One extreme is the trad wife stuff you see online today. I think a lot of people are coming to terms with the fact that a lot of it is fake. So many of these so-called stay-at-home influencers have a whole team behind the scenes, behind the camera, to help them with kids, to help them with nannying, schooling, cooking, and cleaning. And that's okay. That's fine. But the issue is many of them are not upfront about it. And in some cases, they claim otherwise. They're like, oh, I don't have any help, but they have a whole team of help. So a lot of moms take this stuff at face value and they feel terrible about themselves. They're like, how is she constantly making sourdough and lasagna from scratch and all this amazing food? And her kids are homeschooled and how can she do all that? And it makes you feel like it's impossible. And you're like, oh my gosh. I know a lot of people say, well, you should take responsibility for what you look at online. And that's what I'm saying. Yes, you should. Because sometimes this kind of content is not helpful to you because it produces a very manufactured, curated timeline of what motherhood is. And then there's the other side of the extreme, which is those influencer moms who constantly joke about how much they hate their husbands because they're useless and how annoying their kids are. Ladies, we do not want to fill our brains and our hearts with this kind of chronic complaining and hatred. Guard your heart, guard your mind online, and stop the doom scrolling. And stop following these influencer moms where all they can do is complain about how terrible their kids are and how useless their husbands are. That is not the kind of energy you want to bring into your life and bring into your motherhood. Okay, if you have an icky feeling about someone you follow, unfollow them, mute them. Don't hate follow people. So many moms do that. They're like, oh, I hate this mom, but I'm going to follow her because it gets you, I don't know, it just gets a response out of you. I'm guilty of it too. I've had to unfollow people where I'm like, why was I even following them? I just follow them because I despise them. Don't do that. Mute and unfollow whenever necessary, because we have to be very careful about what we fill our minds with. And you have to use social media in a way that's going to make you a better mom. That's not going to bring you down and make you think negatively about what you have in your life. And this is one of the hardest things, because when I talk to moms and I coach a lot of moms, they always say, oh my gosh, I can't stop scrolling at night. I'm like, you can, you just don't want to. You'd be shocked at how much this affects us. So I want you to use your social media much more wisely. Purge that timeline, make it clean. Make it pure, make it happy. Stop looking at all of these moms who are either super negative or super fake. And like I said, you can use your God-given discernment to know when someone is not quite authentic, quite not real. Now, there's nothing wrong with moms being truly authentic and being like, man, you know what? Motherhood is hard sometimes. You know what? I really love this part of motherhood. But you can tell who's fake and who's not. That is something that a lot of us can feel. So use your social media very wisely. Only follow the types of accounts that are going to bring you joy and remind you of how much gratitude you have, or the accounts that are going to make you feel like you're connected to something that's relatable. Okay. Number 3, have an outlet, something just for yourself. I really like this one. This one has helped me a lot in motherhood, because I completely understand the sentiment that many women feel like they lose themselves to motherhood. And it's okay to acknowledge this, because 2 things can be true at once. 1, motherhood is the greatest gift in the world, and it's a wonderful blessing from God. And number 2, it can be really hard sometimes to not lose ourselves to motherhood. And that can be a struggle sometimes for moms. And that's okay. Both of those things can exist in the same place. That doesn't mean that we become ungrateful or hateful towards our family and our kids. No. But it just acknowledges that, it can be a struggle, especially if you're home all day with the kids. You just feel like everything's about poopy diapers and eating schedule and nap time and, trying to find a food that your toddler's going to eat. And next thing you know, it's been like 2 weeks and you haven't done a single thing for yourself. Find something creative that you can devote time to each week, and you have to make time to devote to it. So it could be something creative like painting or sewing, or, music, something that you feel like you can express yourself with. It can be a side business or some part-time work. Like for me, my outlet is my business of health and fitness coaching. I love what I do on the side. I'm very blessed that I'm able to work a few hours each week, be home all the time. But I truly do feel like an added sense of purpose as a woman and as a mom. Of course, my greatest sense of purpose is my family, but it's still nice. It's okay, ladies, to have another sense of purpose, something that you feel like you're giving back, or you have a small business. Like I know a lot of moms who have like even a little Etsy store where they make little herbal supplements, or they do jewelry or some art and they sell it. And like I said, for me, it's my business of health and fitness coaching. I have a women's group called The Shift. I'll put the link in the description if you're interested. I do a 10-week group fitness coaching program called Fit and Lean for women who are trying to lose 10 pounds in 10 weeks. You want to get fit for summer. I give you coaching each week. You get a workout plan, recipe plan, macro guidance from me. All of these things that we can do on the side that helps us feel like there is a part of ourselves that is a bit separate from our kids. And that's okay. That doesn't have to replace our kids, but it's okay to yearn for that, moms. That is okay. And this is, again, where community comes in too, because if you feel like you need an hour or 2 each week of extra time to just do something for yourself, that's where your family and community comes in. Even like my mom, for example, yesterday morning, Friday morning, I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, can you please take my daughter to the grocery store, because they were going to go to BJ's and do some shopping, and my daughter loves going to BJ's. And so she's like, yeah. So my mom and my dad, well, my husband was at work, they picked up my daughter and they took her for about 2 hours, and I was able to get some work done in the morning, and it felt really nice. I felt very refreshed. I felt like it's like you that feeling like you feel like yourself again. It's okay, moms, to have that, and you got to ask for it. And that's, again, where the family and the community really comes in. Number 4, really take care of your health. And I mean your whole health, not just eating clean and exercising. There's a lot more that goes into caring for your health than the basics of working out and eating clean. Okay, especially moms, I want you to focus on healthy hormones. So many moms who come to work with me, they're burnt out from motherhood, they're super stressed, and their hormones are totally out of whack. Let me tell you something, you cannot fully enjoy motherhood and you cannot fully step into motherhood if you are hormonally imbalanced. And again, it's about so much more than working out and eating clean. You need to go outside more and be in the direct sunlight. That is a huge thing for balancing your hormones. You have to reduce stress intentionally. Stress is the biggest killer period, but it is a massive killer of hormonal imbalance. And let me tell you a little bit, I've said this in many episodes in the past, but if you're new here, you know by now that stress affects women's hormones much differently than it does men's. Because as women, our stress hormone cortisol is derived from progesterone. Now in men, their cortisol is not derived from their testosterone, so it functions differently. So if you are very stressed out as a woman, and if you are constantly increasing the cortisol in your life, that means you are depleting progesterone chronically, which means that your menstrual cycle is going to be affected, your mood and your sleep, sex drive are going to be affected because progesterone is known as the key mood and sleep stabilizer. So if you're constantly overstressed and you're not doing anything to reduce your emotional and mental stress, that is a massive part of your health that could be severely affecting your hormones. So we have to make time. I know it feels impossible when you have a family, maybe even work at the same time too, and you got multiple kids and you got so many things on your plate. You have to make time. You have to change your story and tell yourself, I have the time. Do some quiet breath work every day, even just 10 minutes. Turn off the noise, turn off the TV, turn off the phone. Maybe that's before the kids wake up, or maybe it's after they go to bed. You have to intentionally find time to reduce stress, even if it's taking an Epsom salt bath 2 to 3 times a week. Epsom is magnesium. It really helps to relax the body and lower the stress. And then you put some essential oils on the Epsom salt. So before you even turn on the water, a cup of Epsom salt in the bathtub, and then put some essential oil drops on top of the Epsom salt, and then turn the water on over it so it runs through the whole bath. Do that 2 to 3 times a week. Sit in that bathtub for 15 to 20 minutes. I'm telling you, ladies, you have to reduce your stress because you are not going to be healthy without it. Have you looked at your gut health recently? Gut-brain axis is extremely powerful. So if you have an unhealthy gut, suffering with any kind of irritable bowel syndrome, SIBO, leaky gut syndrome, that is going to significantly affect your mental health, your mental wellness, your emotional stress. So check your gut health. Do you struggle with indigestion and bloating a lot? Is that something that is like a chronic issue for you? You're probably struggling with gut health. Get off of unnecessary medications. I'm so sorry to say, and if you're new here, you'll find out now that I talk a lot about the birth control pill. I know a lot of moms who are on the birth control pill, and when they start working with me, they come off of the pill and they realize that the pill is known scientifically through research to cause a lot of mood disorders, to increase the likelihood of depression, anxiety. And a lot of women feel like they're crazy when they're on the pill. And then when they come off of it, they're like, wow, this is what life is really like. I'm not mad or crazy angry all the time and super emotional. And so another piece of advice is get off the unnecessary medications, because if you are taking meds like the birth control pill to just regulate your cycle or even just to prevent pregnancy, you are potentially putting yourself in a position where you're not able to face the stresses of life in a healthy, natural way. And that can make motherhood miserable. Number 5, vent your frustrations to someone in a healthy way, not publicly and not on social media. We all need an emotional outlet, particularly women. For men, a lot of times they can just go to the gym and punch a punching bag. My husband teaches jujitsu. He can go just like fight and just get really sweaty on the mat. He comes home, it's like refreshed. Women need an emotional outlet. And for many of us, it means a friend, a mentor, a spiritual father, someone that you can vent your frustrations to in a healthy, safe environment, and maybe someone that's not your husband all the time. You can obviously be honest with your husband, but and you may think differently than me, But I don't think husbands should be the primary person that women vent to all the time. I think that it's better to find other outlets to also vent to. So your husband isn't the only person that you're constantly venting to all the time. If you're someone who enjoys talk therapy, sometimes having a therapist to just vent to, sometimes just saying to a trusted friend, I'm frustrated and my toddler's driving me crazy and I miss my old life and I miss being able to shower for 5 minutes uninterrupted. I miss being able to just walk out of the house and go run an errand. It's okay to say that, but not online. This is a really big component of this tip, is do not air these grievances on social media. It's not the place to do it. And unfortunately now, most moms who are in the influencer mom space, they overshare and vent too much online. And the reason why that is not good is because it ends up being this toxic, vicious cycle of moms just reinforcing, yeah, motherhood's it just sucks so much. And you're not getting any productive feedback or any productive help from these random people who follow you online. So it is very important to have a place to vent, an emotional outlet, but that place should not be anywhere public like social media. If you're a Christian who is participating regularly in the sacraments, your spiritual father is a great person to just vent those frustrations to, especially in confession. I know for sure we're still in the middle of Lent. Orthodox Christians are still in the middle of Lent. We're in our third or fourth week. I think we're ending the third week now. And yeah, when I go to confession, I very much plan on confessing that I've lost my temper and it's hard. And there are some really frustrating moments about motherhood. And it is healthy to get that out. That doesn't mean that you hate your kids or you hate your family. It doesn't mean that you dwell on it and make it spiral out of control, but it's okay to admit that, because sometimes just getting it out is a very healthy way to just keep going. Number 6, this is the last one. Change your mindset and remember that everything is temporary in this life. This is the absolute hardest one. It's much easier to balance your hormones and vent to a friend and hang out with family and ask for help. It's a lot harder to really believe the story that this is temporary and that and it's not going to last long. We have to know that motherhood is bigger than us. Our family and what we pass down to our children is so much bigger than us. That's why perspective is really important. And if we still want to find more joy in motherhood, and if we want to not lose ourselves completely to motherhood and still feel like we have our own identity, it's important to have the right mindset and know that all of this is temporary. When you have the little kids running around or when you have a newborn and you have not slept for more than 2 hours in months, we have to remember that it's temporary. And sometimes the best way to do that is to change your state and physiology. Okay. Because when you want to change your story, change the narrative that's inside your head, a lot of times it doesn't just work by being like, okay, I'm going to believe something different. No, you have to get up and change your state and physiology. Sometimes that means taking a 5-minute walk around the block. Sometimes it means just raising your arms above your head and doing some breathing, like, I'm not kidding. It sounds silly. It sounds stupid, but you have to change your physiology. You get up and jump up and down a few times. These are the ways that you can change the way that your body is functioning, change the way that you physically feel. And that's how you start to change your story. Everyone can find reasons about why their life sucks. What's that Tony Robbins quote? You don't experience life, you experience the life that you focus on. And especially as moms, I am certainly guilty of this. You can sit and come up with so many reasons why your life sucks and other moms have it better than you do. Especially if you get online and you don't use social media responsibly and consciously. You see all these moms, they have it better than you. They're skinnier than you. They have more kids than you. They have more money than you. Their house is prettier than yours. Their kitchen is always perfect. They make better food than you. But that person that you think all those things about, they can sit down and come up with so many reasons why their life sucks too. So we have to find ways to change our mindset. And yes, as cheesy as it sounds, focus on the things that we're very grateful for. Because I guarantee you, if you sit down right now and start coming up with a list of all the ways that you are extremely blessed in your life, you will walk away 10 minutes later feeling empowered and feeling positive and not feeling like you want to wallow in your misery. This is why faith plays a huge role for me. And if you're listening and you're not Christian, I would really encourage you to find the faith, that comes in Christ, because it will carry you in your deepest, darkest moments. Remember, I said earlier, we have to know that motherhood is bigger than us, that this is bigger than us. That thing that is bigger than us, it's not just some random universe concept. It's God, it's Christ. And the sacrifice that he made for us when he was here on earth, we are able to participate in that suffering and that sacrifice through motherhood. And that is something that is so much bigger than us. And I think it's so important to have a robust prayer life. And that for me is my mindset practice. And to really believe that, again, this is temporary. And in 5 years, we're going to look back and be like, oh, I miss when my baby was that small. Or in 20 years, when they move out of the house, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that it felt like that was going to last forever. But it went by in the blink of an eye. I just talked to a mom a couple weeks ago. I did my meetup for my women's group, The Shift. And this mom has 2 sons, and one of them is going off to college now. And she looked at me with tears in her eyes and she said, I cannot believe we're here already. And it made me tear up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get so frustrated with my toddler sometimes. And I get frustrated with this pregnancy because it's so hard. My belly's big. I'm in pain. I want this baby to just come. I want it to be over with. And I'm running after my toddler. And I looked at her and it became so clear to me that these moments are so precious and they're going to go by so fast. And I forgot who it was. I was watching a clip online, but he said, every time I get really frustrated with my kids, I think forward until about when I'm 80 years old. And if this is the only memory I have of my children, and if I imagine, what if this is the only memory I have of my kids right now, today, when I'm frustrated, that's going to help me react very differently to what's going on around me. And that's sometimes what I think about too. If my daughter is just, it's a tough day, I'm not feeling well physically, I think to myself, what if this is my only memory? When I'm 80 years old and I might be on my deathbed, and this is the only thing I remember about my daughter, is just how I want to react. How do I want to react to my kids? So we have to remember that everything is temporary, guys. And that's why, again, faith is, it's everything. You cannot, I honestly, I said this to the ladies when I did my meetup with them a couple weeks ago. I said, I don't know how anyone can go through pregnancy and motherhood without being a Christian. I don't know. I don't know how you guys can do it as agnostics or atheists. I don't know. It's just a thought that I had recently. And I had that thought when I was pregnant and I gave birth to my first child. I said, I don't know how you can go through pregnancy and birth and not believe in God and not believe that there is a creator who made you so perfectly and created this perfect way for this baby to come into the world. And all of these little ways that we connect with our children, from breastfeeding to skin contact, to the way that baby knows our voice and our heartbeat. And now even through motherhood, I'm like, man, I couldn't get through it without my faith in Christ. I couldn't do it. I don't know how moms do it without faith. So if you are someone who's searching, and if you have any questions about your faith and about Christianity, I would love to hear from you. So I'm going to end it with this. Any moms out there listening, and even dads, if you're listening, what are some ways that you find joy in motherhood or fatherhood, if you're a guy listening? But what are the practices or tips that you have for other moms to not lose themselves in motherhood and to still enjoy motherhood, because it is very difficult and it can be all consuming and very taxing. So if you have any tips that are really helpful, I would love to hear them in the comment section. Again, please share, like, and subscribe. I always forget to say that at the beginning of the episode, but I'll put all the links in the description if you want to join my women's group, do my 10-week coaching program, or get the 10-week dumbbell program that just went on sale today. So thank you guys for listening, and tell me in the comment section what you think, and we'll see you next time. Bye.